Hello guys, how are you all? We're back with you again this evening. I hope you would all join us. Today we're back on the emotional intelligence. So today is part 2 of the case for emotional intelligence. I hope you'll be joining us shortly. Guys, come on, let's gain more wisdom. I will be interviewing Pastor Derek Schneider. Do you hear? I almost say doctor again. Guys, I'm going to make him a doctor. You know, we can make him a doctor because he's actually treating our mind right now. So maybe that's why I'm saying doctor. So his name is Pastor Derek Schneider. He's joining us again for the 5th time in the last few days, and we're having such a great time. So today is part 2 of the case for emotional intelligence. So say hi to him, guys. So let's say hi.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so happy that you have joined me tonight and all of us here at Pastor Sunday at Adelaja's house. That's where we are. That is the machine where it all takes place and happens. So, share this video if you can. Get people to tune in and listen to this, because we're going to speak again about the case for emotional intelligence. People have been writing me, they've been sending messages. It seems that this is a hot topic. So I'm so glad you're here. Get your pens, get your paper, and we'll give another moment or so, giving people a chance to get online. So we'll see you shortly.
So guys, you heard it. Get pen and paper. Invite your friends. Let them learn as well as you learn. You know my ethos on this. The more people that I interact with on a high level of intellect, the better my life is. And there's no better way to learn. Free of charge. All we need is your time and your attention and your involvement. So come on board. Let's all learn together and improve our IQ. We are talking about emotional intelligence today. So this is part 2. We had part 1 yesterday, and now we're having part 2 today. So I'd love for you to join us. Start inviting people. Hello, Julie. How are you? Thank you for joining us. I know there are a few people online right now. Just say hi so that I will know and I can say hello to you while we wait for other people to join us. I hope you had a good day today. Today being Monday, how was it for you? I hope you had a good day at work. I hope work was pleasant. Olayinka, thank you so much for joining, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for those that have shared. Share. Please, guys, let's share. The more the merrier, and the more people hears this and improve their understanding, the better our world. So let's all help humanity. That's what I'm saying. Let's help humanity. How are you guys? So tell me about your day if you can, while we prepare and get more people to get on board. So how was your day? My day was good. So Pastor. Okay, Pastor Derek Schneider. So can you tell us about your day? What did you do today before we start on the topic?
It was a routine day, and typically when you say a routine day, you think of something boring. But if you are the creator and master of your routines, a routine day is never boring, because it means you are steps closer to accomplishing goals that you've set. Your routine and what you do every 15 minutes contributes to what maybe your 10-year plan is, your 20-year plan. You can actually break your life down into segments, so that if you're faithful to those segments, you'll be able to accomplish your global purpose and goals. So when I say that today was routine, it means that I followed through with steps towards certain goals. I held a Skype call with leadership at home in Toronto, Canada, and we made sure our projects are moving forward and just stayed on top of everything. I learned something new today and studied and just enjoying being in my Father's house. That's what I would say. So it's good to be with you. We're ready to say something new.
Wow, brilliant. Thank you very much. Oh, guys, hello, welcome, Magic King. Hello, how are you? Have I got anybody else? Magic King again. Hello. Guys, hello. Just say hello. I know there are a few of you that are watching with us right now. It would be nice for you to say hello so that I can say hello back. Anyway, you heard he's had a wonderful day today. He's been learning. I think I heard learning 3 times, which is brilliant, you know. So he spent his day, although you might think it's routine, and he says it's routine, but it's routine, and he still learned quite a lot today. He said, I learned this. I'm in my father's house. So how brilliant a day is that? To say I'm in my father's house and I was learning. That's fabulous. Hello, Chinwe. How are you? How are you doing? It's nice to see you. How was your day too? Anyway, I really love to say hello to everybody that is joining. And I know I can't waste Pastor Derek's time. I shouldn't waste Pastor Derek's time. I know he's raring to go. So guys, share. Nkiru, hello Pastor Nkiru, how are you? I can't help myself. I know I said I can't say hello to everybody, but I can't help myself. So I'm saying hello to some people that I can see their names. So, well, guys, don't let me waste any more of your time and also Pastor Derek Schneider's time. Let's go. I really want to learn. I need this information. I need this wisdom. So, let's go, sir.
Maiwa, I think I'm pronouncing your name right. I hope I'm getting there, but you're calling me a doctor, so we're making good mistakes.
We're even.
We're even. I think you've been learning something about emotional intelligence. The way you have behaved just now, talking to everybody, welcoming them, not spending too much time on one person, creating an environment where people feel like there's relationship going on, all of that. You've just plowed the ground and created environment through your relational skills. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm a good learner. I'm a good student, I must say. So I appreciate the acknowledgement. Thank you. Thank you. I'm in front of you, so how can I not learn? If you impact me in such a way that I have no choice but to learn. And I'm here to learn. I think I've got my learning cap on. I've got it on for a few weeks now, and I'm not removing that cap.
Amen.
So it's staying on because I want to learn, I want to develop, and I want to be the optimum. And I also want all of you guys as well to join me. Julie's here, loving me. Thank you, Julie. Hello, Chinwe again. Guys, okay, I'm going to go on to this. I know I've just been praised, so I don't want to mess up. Ebenezer, hello. Chinwe, hello. So let me go. Let's go.
All right, welcome everybody who's online. Let me just say what a privilege it is to be talking to people who I've never met in person, but we're around the world, all of the same mind, the same spirit, and technology has brought us together. What are we talking about today? Well, we began a discussion yesterday on a hot topic that people were very interested in, called the case for emotional intelligence, or what's called EQ, as opposed to IQ. IQ being your intellectual capacity, EQ being emotional capacity. And today we're going to focus on some necessary EQ skills. So we're going to get practical with what it really takes to develop that part of you, and as well some tools and strategies to improve on self-awareness. Self-awareness is so important. Sometimes I refer to some popular TV shows that people might know. I know somebody commented how they've noticed EQ and this dynamic on Shark Tank, I think you mentioned. Well, I want to draw your attention to the popular TV show, which is called American Idol. And I think they have different ones in different countries. And to me, that is one of the best showcases of people who are not self-aware. You will have somebody get up on stage and they will say they've been singing since they were 6 years old, and it's what they're supposed to do in life, and their brother or their sister or parents have told them what an incredible singer they are. And then the track comes on and the person takes the microphone, and what comes out is anything but singing. It is an awful experience. The crowd begins to laugh, and then at the end of her finding her way through that particular song, the judges begin to tear her apart. And it's such a shock to the contestant. Why is it such a shock? They say, but my parents told me I'm a good singer. I've been singing since I was young. Well, what's just happened is nobody took the time to tell that person that they actually are not a good singer. Sometimes we think more highly of ourselves than we ought. And we can actually have blind spots relationally, emotionally, socially, where we really don't see ourselves for who we are. There are cases where there are people through past hurts, traumas that don't want to challenge themselves and really make changes that are necessary. And so they go through life losing opportunities, not maximizing certain relationships, struggling, not becoming who they could be, all because they wouldn't take the time to be self-aware. This is, again, the importance of a mentor. When I get around my mentor, Pastor Sunday has a way of making you aware of yourself, your strengths, but also your weaknesses. Why? Because a mentor or coach is interested in seeing you change and grow. The more idiosyncrasies or weaknesses that you take on in your life and try to change, the more quicker you have an eye for them. You actually notice them quickly and easily, and you need to develop your moral courage, your courage to make these changes in your life, to become self-aware. Hugely important to be self-aware. It can mean the difference between a promotion and remaining stagnant. It can mean missed opportunities. It can mean all kinds of things because of a lack of self-awareness. Now, just to recap a bit on what we discussed yesterday, we gave a definition of EQ. EQ is is a person's ability to not only understand their emotions as they happen and to manage them productively, but also to maneuver through complex, challenging social situations. That's what we said yesterday. We also highlighted a very relevant principle, which is someone can be intellectually brilliant but can still lack success in life because of awkward or crippled social skills, social and relational skills. We discussed how the business world and the corporate world are looking to hire people who have strong EQ. They understand themselves, they understand relationships, they understand team dynamic. Those are the people that are looking to be hired. Why? For some of the top positions in the world, whether it be in government, business, or various corporations, generally you'll have people with a similar intellectual development or IQ pursuing the same position. And so what's going to make you stand above the rest is if you have strong emotional intelligence. Generally, we said yesterday that IQ, you tend to level out at a certain age. This is what you've learned, this is what you know, and you can sit down with a potential employer and say, hey, I am competent. But there are maybe 20 others who I've also sat down and said, I am also competent. Well, what's going to set you apart? It's going to be these kind of emotional, intelligent understanding of yourself. So we also gave some statistics. We said that competency research in over 200 companies worldwide have said that 1/3 or success at work is 1/3 technical skill and 2/3 due to emotional competency. Why is this important? Well, it's going to give you success wherever you go. It's going to promote you. Not just your having a prayer life will promote you, but your ability to understand your emotional intelligence and be able to function that way. So we talked about the fruit of the Spirit, just doing a bit of a recap here. Now, let's jump right into EQ skills. What are the fundamental EQ skills that we need to have? I'm going to give you 4 of them. So if you've got your pens, get ready to write. Number 1, Self-awareness. Self-awareness. And we're going to give a little definition to that. Recognizing yourself in the moment and having the ability to make decisions based on what you have become aware of. I'll say it again. Recognizing yourself in the moment and having the ability to make decisions based on what you are aware of. We talked a moment ago about contestants on American Idol. We talked yesterday about testimony time in our churches, where people get up to give testimony and they become completely unaware of how long they've been talking, how many rabbit trails they've taken, and even worse, that there are other people in the room, other people waiting to share their testimony, and they become completely oblivious and are just not self-aware. How many times have I found myself in discussions where we have praised maybe a person's project or the work they do, but there's just this glaring observation of something that happened in the boardroom or in the staff meeting, and somebody will say, that person is great, but they're just not self-aware. They lack self-awareness. So it is the ability to recognize yourself in the moment. That really means to be present and conscious of how you're coming across, not later, not even how you want to come across, but how you're actually coming across in this particular moment. That's a skill you want to develop. I want to challenge you next time you're in a room with family, friends, a boardroom, a staff meeting. I want to challenge you to pause for a moment and analyze the following things. Have I contributed in this meeting? You know, a good CEO will put a demand on you to give your voice, to say something, to contribute something. Have I contributed efficiently? I used to challenge myself. I'd find myself in meetings with some high-level leaders and I wouldn't have said anything, and I thought, you know what, I've got something to say. I'm part of this team. I'm going to contribute something where I can, and it'll be something of value. Also ask yourself this question as it relates to self-awareness. Am I contributing too much? Am I talking too much? Am I talking about myself too much? And you know what? When we get overtired sometimes and we don't have routine, or we haven't eaten enough, or whatever the case may be, or we're just too arrogant, we'll get into environments and feel we need to prove something, or our insecurities will come to the surface. And I'm going to give a very embarrassing example of this. I'm going to use myself, if that's okay. I remember one of the first times that Pastor Sunday, see, I'm just embarrassed even thinking back about this story, but one of the first times that Pastor Sunday took me on television, and this was going to be seen by however many thousands or millions, and I was on there with another man, and Pastor Sunday was hosting it, and I was overtired and insecure enough at that stage in my ministry that I really wanted to prove something. And I didn't know, because I wasn't self-aware, that my desire to prove something had blinded me to being aware of the dynamic and the function of the show. So Pastor Sunday posed a question to both of us, to which the gentleman who was my senior sat next to me and began to answer so eloquently. And at some point in the conversation, I'm just going to get it out, I actually cut this man off and just decided to share my answer, because I wanted to contribute and be seen as somebody that had the right answer. And would you believe I didn't even answer the question that was originally asked? And I remember Pastor had to now, because I'm a bit aware, he had to shift the conversation back to the point of the whole show. I hope this really embarrassing story has helped you in some way, because we do this all the time, don't we? We are not aware of how we're carrying ourselves, and even worse, how it's affecting those around us. So I challenge you to begin to take a self-analysis when you're in certain social settings. So we went over a couple of them. One of them is, what am I contributing? Am I contributing too little? Am I contributing too much? Another would be, what is my body posture? You know, we take a long time, well, some of us do, a long time in the morning getting ready, making our outer appearance look presentable, but quite often we don't analyze our body posture in different meetings and settings. Are you yawning without covering your mouth? Are you distracted and on your iPad when you should be engaged in the discussion? As Pastor Sunday says, are you here and now? Are you in the present moment? You will find when you set distractions aside in the right environment. I know we do multitasking, and that's all good in maybe a non-social setting. But when we're in a social setting and you set things aside and focus on the person and the people, your ability to contribute and problem solve will shoot through the roof when you fully engage. Be aware of body posture. Sit up, sit forward, take interest in what the other person is saying. Concentrate on making eye contact. Do you know the person who makes the strongest eye contact is the one who is dominating that situation? When you make eye contact with the person as they're talking, what kind of handshake do you have? You know, there are people who are highly skilled in EQ, and they know immediately what you don't know. I want to give you gems today that you would never know had you not been told. Some of the highest level people in business, they will analyze handshake, they'll analyze eye contact, and they're actually watching to see if, while they're talking to you or instructing you, are you going like this? Or are you cutting them off? Are you going like this and glancing off? Are you looking down at your watch? You know, I've seen people do all kinds of things. Maya, I think you were going to say something here.
Please share this. This is just too good for us to eat it all on our own. So please, guys, can we please share? I also want to say there are a few comments yesterday. So do you mind if I just read some of the comments? There's a comment that says DSA mentioned in his book, Stop Working for Uncle Sam, that our temporary workplace is a place for us to learn and sharpen ourselves. So, you know, that's an interesting comment, and I think it also pertains to this topic. So you can learn how to develop your emotional intelligence at work. Thank you for that comment. And also there was another one that says, while we're working for Uncle Sam, this is about Uncle Sam again, it is essential for us to develop our skills. But it's even much better as well if we develop our skills before. So this is an opportunity before you go into that workplace, so that you would have an opportunity to even be in that workplace to develop yourself. And then there's another comment here, and I just want to read that. I think they're very good comment. Absolutely bang on. So they're saying that what you're saying is bang on. I never knew that was in me until I got put in an environment that challenged my weakness.
Wow.
It's how I learned to apply emotional intelligence in a tangible way. Best thing I've ever learned. That's an amazing comment. Best thing this person has ever learned. Right? That's brilliant. There's another one that says, it is amazing how someone could be so brilliant, but you always fail at job interviews. I've always said that it has not to with the person of the individual. Maybe it has nothing to do with the individual, which can also be related to emotional intelligence. I think this is what the person is saying, that you could be brilliant, have the capacity in terms of knowledge, understanding of the role that you need to do, but in terms of having the emotional intelligence to relate with other people, you're not good. So here's a free class for you guys to develop yourself to the optimum. And there's another thing that you said about eye contact. I just want to mention this, because being from an African background, we don't actually give eye contact. Luckily for me, I was raised in an environment where, you know, I wasn't raised in Africa. But when I was young and, you know, just coming from Africa, you always look down, because Africans think it's more polite and respectful, especially when somebody is senior to you or older to you is talking, you have to look down. So there's also a cultural difference. Depending on where you are, you have to learn this. But I go with looking eye contact. I'm used to that now as well, because it shows that you're honest as well. If you're looking around when somebody is talking to you, you know, it seems like you're hiding something, like you're trying to lie about something. And I didn't actually realize that until, you know, I was told off when I was in school, I believe, and I remembered it. I remember that to this day. So there's a context as well that is related to that. So if you're in the West, you absolutely need to learn this. If you're in Africa, you know, that might be a different ball game, but we could help them to change, because there's no need for anybody to be looking down. So guys, let me go back. I'm talking too much. Let me use my emotional intelligence. Okay, I'm back.
Oh, that's so good. No, this is just amazing. The church for so long has been so far behind in some of these things that we need to know. And what you discover, if you go down this road of studying some of these protocols, you know there's a protocol for every situation. And when you begin to discover some of these protocols, you find out that some of the top level leaders in the world, they know it and they function by it. So if we really want to be the head and not the tail, it's not enough to prophesy it. You've got to learn what is required to be the head and not the tail. It doesn't happen because you declared it. It's going to happen because you live it. So this is really important to be aware of. So EQ skills. Number 1 we said was self-awareness, recognizing yourself in the moment, and the ability to make decisions based on what you are aware of. So I'm going to tell you honestly, I analyze myself in most situations, especially ones that I care about, whether it's with a superior, trying to close some kind of business deal. I come prepared, dress for success, you know, have your game face on, as they say. Watch your posture. That's another thing to look at. And if you can do some of these things and analyze yourself in different situations, look, what would happen if you were in a boardroom setting, or let's say you were applying for a job and there were a number of people in the room. What if it was just your handshake and your ability to look that CEO in the face that got you hired? You know what? It can be that. It's what you give off. So be mentally present, be physically present, all of that. Let's move on to number 2. If you can believe it, a half hour has already gone by. Number 2, self-management. This is another EQ skill, self-management. Some people have self-awareness, but they have not learned how to translate what they're aware of to management of themselves. Let's give a little definition here of self-management. Choosing what to do with what you just became aware of. Choosing what to do with what you just became aware of. The question is how you maneuver among your impulses. When you feel yourself talking too much, self-management, or I call it the fruit of the Spirit, self-control. Okay, that's one of the fruits of the Spirit. So one of the evidence for all the very spiritual people out there, one of the evidences of the Holy Spirit's work in your life is that you can control yourself. Being able to control impulses. So what do you do when you notice you're talking too much? What do you do when you've said something and you can tell it offended somebody? Are you able to change directions in a conversation quickly and explain what you really meant? Are you even aware that you just totally offended somebody and need to apologize? When you're in leadership, you have a lot of opportunities to work on some of these things. And I love being very honest with people. And if I can tell that I've said something that has offended them, or I'm tiring them or something like that, I love being able to shift gears, change my behavior on the spot, and cultivate a new atmosphere. Create a different conversational dynamic. You know, some people know how they come across. Somebody will say, you know what, I love to share publicly, but if you don't give me a time or hold up a sign, I'll just go right past the time that I was given. You know what? That's not an issue you have to deal with. You can change that. You can work on that. My father always told me, when you go in to speak or preach somewhere, ask them what the time frame is and stay within it, no matter how anointed you feel you are. Being aware of how to manage yourself in a dynamic. You know, I'll use another God Embassy example. This one sticks out to me, is that I think it might have been last year's anniversary here in Kiev or the one before. Some of the testimonials had gone on very long, and it went right over into the speaker's time for him to preach. The speaker that morning was Pastor Tope, who's just a wonderful, very humble man, very self-aware man, and a good manager of himself, from what I've come to know of him. I will never forget how classy it was when he got up to preach and he had been left with only 20 minutes. You know, the man had probably prepared, maybe he knew what he was going to speak on for 6 months, I don't know, but he got up there and he adjusted himself, complimented everybody who had gone up previously, didn't feel the need to throw out any comments like, oh, they're taking my time, or, you know, there wasn't a hint of it. He went immediately into his message without a lot of small talk, went through each point and preached in 20 minutes one of the greatest messages of faith that I had heard in a long time. And when he wrapped up on time, you know what he did? He pulled the program back into order. Now there's a manager. There's somebody who was able to manage their own behavior, and it had a ripple effect on the entire program. It would have been easy for somebody to get up and say, well, I'm the speaker, and well, they went over and took my time, so I'm going over into this time. You know what? You just became a catalyst of chaos. And we as leaders are called to manage and bring order. We're called to bring justice to disorder. We're called to bring judgment to chaos. As leaders, we don't have the right to be right all the time. We don't have the right to ego. We are there to serve. And that aspect of what I saw Pastor Tope do that morning really impressed me, and I never forgot it. And you know what? Those are the kind of leaders that get invited back, that God can trust, they get promoted, because people look at them and say, that guy is aware. Well, as we say in our culture, he gets it. So you want to be somebody that gets it. Self-management, choosing what to do with what you just became aware of, how you maneuver amongst your impulses. We all have triggers, don't we? There are things that can be said to us that can completely change our mood, that can send us into defensive mode, that can shut us down in a board meeting, that can cause us to say, you know what, I'm not going to talk to my wife for the rest of the night, and we go into resistance mode. Self-management, the ability to manage your impulses, is hugely important. That's why I encourage people to seek counseling or get help where there's been wounds there that are now triggers for other situations. Sometimes we react in a way that is disproportionate to what the situation was. I hope somebody's listening tonight, because this is so important right here. Is we have triggers, and we finally get to a place of opportunity and destiny. We're so happy to be there. And then someone on our team, our pastor, our leader, or even God triggers, or the devil, triggers an ancient wound from when you were 6 years old, or when you failed something, or when you whatever. And this reaction, that's what it is. It's not a response. This reaction comes shooting out of you, and I have seen people torpedo themselves out of opportunity. They will disqualify themselves from relationships that were meant to become resources to them. I have seen people quit the ministry, leave their destiny, forfeit their purpose, all in the name of holding on to that wound or that thing that was triggered, and that impulse that they did not learn to manage. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. A good example of this are what they call the 3 R's. I'll give them to you right now, seeing we're discussing this. Resentment. That's the first one. Resentment. The second one is resistance. And the third one is revenge. Resentment, resistance, and revenge. Without going too deep into this, this really has to do with self-management, because what can happen is Resentment occurs because somebody has done something to us that we feel is unfair. So something has done something to us, we're offended. That's the breeding ground for that resentment. Now we're carrying resentment, okay? So you've been offended, somebody did something, now you're carrying this resentment. If you don't manage that resentment properly, you're going to torpedo yourself. You know, you're going to do it to yourself. Let me give you an explanation of this. If we don't manage resentment, resentment actually is a seed that grows into something called resistance. Resistance is reactions towards others out of offense. So they're reactions towards others that actually serve to work against ourselves. So I'll give you an example. Because you were offended with your pastor, you now didn't deal with the resentment, so you went into resistance mode. And resistance mode means, fine, I'm not coming to this church anymore. Even though you've gone there for 10 years or you're part of the organization, well, I'm going to go to some other church then. And now you're in resistance mode. You're doing things out of resentment. You're doing things against that person. Now, if you're not careful and you still don't deal with that, if you still don't have the ability to self-manage, you can slip into revenge mode. Revenge becomes when you change churches and you go to another church and you're still mad, and so now you're going to get revenge and talk about that pastor from the other church and slander him. You are now in a very dangerous place in a lack of being able to self-manage. You know, it's just the same as unforgiveness. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die or to be hurt by it. Let me give you one more corporate or business example of these 3 R's as it relates to being able to manage yourself. A CEO decides to take the elevator up to the top floor in which he has an office. And the elevator on its way up stops, and he gets on the floor, from the floor that he's on, and there are 2 of his workers already on the elevator talking, and the moment they see him, it becomes a hush. And that CEO thinks in his mind, I know they were talking about me. And at that moment, he begins to feel the burnings of insecurity, the fears of insubordination, the concern that somebody's talking about him. He doesn't have proof, but he begins to do the dance in his mind because he never had a father that showed him approval. So now he's concerned. He's riding the elevator with them, and he begins to feel the burn of resentment. He is now resenting these 2 people without talking to them, without finding out if there was an offense against him or something. And he becomes so resentful that he says in his mind, I'm not even going to continue on this elevator ride with these 2 guys. And he stops at an earlier floor, and now he has to sweat and take the stairs in the name of resentment. Or in the name of resistance. He's going to hold on to his offense. He's in resistance mode and thinks, I never liked them anyways. Maybe I can push them out of my company. And as he goes to leave that day, he's still in a bad mood. He gets down to his car and he sees those same 2 guys standing at the curb. He gets into his car and he's been stewing on this all day. He has now slipped into revenge mode. He sees a puddle. They're standing next to a puddle. And he drives by quickly, and the water sprays up on these 2 colleagues, and they stand there, and he does this out of revenge, and he doesn't know that those 2 guys, while on the elevator, were talking about planning a surprise birthday party for their CEO. Now they're offended, they're in resentment, and they move into resistance mode and say, I'm not putting on a party for that guy. And the dance begins, all because of an inability to have me management. Are you hearing this? Maybe this is a good pause point, Maya.
Oh my guys, this is amazing. I can't believe I'm hearing this. This last example is so good. And can't you recognize yourself in this? I certainly can. Even when you're walking with friends, and you see them talking and they stop talking, even family, don't you automatically think they're talking about you? And sometimes for me, I would ask and say, you're talking about me. What are you saying? Say it. And then start an argument. Guys, please, please, let's share this. This is just unbelievable. This example is so good because it's about work colleagues as well. And it's about somebody that is in a senior position that you think he should know better being in a senior position. But oh no, it doesn't. So you could be a CEO, you still need to have emotional intelligence. So guys, please, can you share this? Let's share this and listen more. I am so interested. I can't wait to hear the rest.
You imagine we only made it to number 2 of our EQ skills. I'm sure you've already benefited from this. Let's jump down to number 3, and don't forget those 3 R's. We do this all the time, and I promise you it only comes back to hurt you and work against you. So practice in the moment being number 1, self-aware. Am I offended? Why am I offended? What offended me? Do I have a right to be offended? Then with self-management, here's how that offense is making me feel. How can I change and adjust my sails to maneuver through what I want to, what you're feeling you want to do in that situation? This is so important to practice because I'll tell you, if you can do this in marriage, you can have a happy marriage, no matter how crazy the other person is acting. If you can learn me management, that is half the battle and maybe more right there. Number 3, social awareness. Social awareness. We're listing EQ skills. Number 3 would be social awareness. That is the ability to read what is happening with the person I'm interacting with. The ability to read what is happening with the person I'm interacting with. I sat down with somebody. This is actually a good way to know if you should take the time to invest in someone, to be able to read whether they're really hearing you. Let's say you want to mentor someone, are they really listening? And before you cast your pearls, before swine, before you really go to give to someone, check their body language and posture and eye contact to see if they're really getting it. Pastor Sunday is a brilliant steward of his resources, so he never wants to repeat something or give information that a person is not ready to receive yet. He'll even check your body posture. He'll check your eye contact, whether you're getting it. There was a time him and I were talking and he was explaining how I was struggling to be in the here and now, distracted by cell phone, iPad, whatever. And even as he was telling me this, he caught my eyes, glanced just like this, and he said, "See, I lost you right there. You disconnected right there." Oh boy. I was so challenged because nobody at home where I lived had ever or would ever challenge me on that. We love to just let ourselves struggle through life, but a mentor and a father is somebody that brings that kind of correction. So knowing how the other person is reacting, or the ability to read what is happening with the person you're interacting with at the particular time. There was somebody I had a meal with not that long ago. And when we sat down, I thought it would be a mutual exchange of sharing what we were doing in our lives and different things related to ministry. And he just began to talk about himself and his ministry, and went on and on and on to the point where I realized, what, maybe the best gift I could give this guy is not saying anything at all. Maybe he just really needs to talk. So I let him go on, and I didn't say anything. And finally, there was a lull in the conversation, or he maybe even asked me something about my own ministry. And when I went to share, he began to look through the menu. He noticed somebody in the room. His eyes would, dart back and forth. He was just completely disconnected. And what the signal that he was sending me was, I'm not really interested in what you have to say. I'm not really interested in you. I'm just interested in talking for talking's sake. So that I wouldn't waste anybody's time and energy. I just wrapped up what I was saying, and not so as not to make him feel foolish, I asked him about his ministry, and I got another good full hour of hearing about him. Well, I was very careful to never have a meal with that person again. Not because I don't love them, but there's no mutual exchange. There's no interaction. Now, there are times, especially if you counsel people and you're loving on people who are maybe not your colleagues, where that's your job, to sit and listen. That's the best thing you can do is don't break eye contact with them. Take them by the hand. Show them body language. Show them that you're interested. So social awareness is being aware of the people in the room, being aware of the person in your interaction with them. Am I boring this person? Am I offending this person? Am I bringing the best out of this person in the moment? And so you can actually become so socially aware. And again, Pastor Sunday is such a great example of this. He is able to, in a room full of people, give equal amount of relational time and special moments with everybody in the room. He's actually conscious of what he's doing. And when I first noticed that he would do that, I thought, man, that must be exhausting, having to care for everybody's feelings and emotion. And I learned that it came out from love. He genuinely loves people. So to give you an example of that, he would ask you about something, laugh with you, joke with you, and he'd be sure to give someone else in the room equal amount of attention. And it's really funny when there's different languages, because he'll speak in Russian with somebody for a while and kind of come back to you and say, here's what we're talking about, and then back over to this person, making sure that he ties everyone together in this symphony of social interaction. Pastor Sunday is a master at that. And I used to think that must be so exhausting, but when your priority is to add value to others, you will care about other people's opinions. You will allow other people to speak. You will create opportunities for people to hear their own sound. You know, we as pastors are not always so good at that, because we're used to a culture of I stand on the pulpit, I deliver the word of God, and you sit and listen. In actuality, we're called more to be like Jesus, who allowed people to hear their own sound. He got people talking. He asked questions of people purposely. That's actually a Jewish custom, or a Jewish tradition or cultural thing that goes all the way back to God in the garden, when God asked Adam and Eve a question that he already knew the answer to. Jesus would do the same thing. They would ask him a question, he'd say, let me ask you a question. And all of these are skills that we need. You know, this might be too much for us tonight, maybe. We've gone too deep, maybe.
Guys, I think we can go ahead. Why not?
Please, yeah, thank you.
So let's do it.
Shall we continue?
Yes.
All right, let's do it. So we talked about social awareness, the ability to read what is happening with the person I'm interacting with at the time, also knowing what to say when. Growing up at home with my parents, I knew when to ask my dad for money, and I knew when not to. There were times when asking him for something could absolutely ensure that I never received what I was asking for. Other times I knew if he had just preached, that was the time to ask. And you learn how to relate to somebody and what dance you need to have with that person. To do that, you've got to study their social skills. You've got to study how they operate, how they are. You know, it's possible for two people to be married and be so self-absorbed that they never really analyze how the other person communicates best. What really matters to that person, even though they're living together, they've maybe analyzed only how they feel when that person interacts with them. When you make the other person the person you want to value and really get to know, that's when that person begins to come alive. We have the power as people to so invest in each other that we bring the best out of each other. All right, number 4. We made it to number 4 at least of EQ skills. Relationship management. Relationship management. What does that mean, relationship management? Being able to use the information to now maintain and build relationship with someone over a period of time. Using the information and what you know about that person to be able to build a deeper and more meaningful relationship with them over time. I'm often fascinated how God will bring people into our lives, not just because they make us feel good, but because the kingdom can be advanced through our relationship. I always say there are 3 economies that can advance the kingdom. One is prayer, the second one is finances, and the third is relationships. Relationships are important to God. I heard somebody say once, a wise man, he said, if you don't have time for relationships, you don't have time for resources. And if you are struggling relationally, you are bleeding out as it pertains to your resources and what you could actually be accomplishing. So relationships are so important, being able to manage our relationships. And that has to do with studying a person, paying attention to them, really applying effort in getting to know them. What do they like? What do they don't like? What's a good gift you can bring to your spiritual father or pastor? You know, how can I go the extra mile to really build a relationship with that particular person? I want to give you another example of when I stayed and lived with Pastor Sunday for 1 month's time. That might have been the longest time I had been away from home. I was young in ministry, and Pastor Sunday just had a way of knowing and remembering what you like or what you don't like. And I had been away from American food for quite a long time, and somehow he heard that or calculated that in his mind, and when we were leaving church one day, he made all the cars go through the McDonald's drive-thru in the name of maybe Pastor Derek misses American food. And we drove through the McDonald's drive-thru. Actually, maybe it wouldn't be good for me to announce that, but we went through the McDonald's drive-thru, and I'll never forget the reaction of people in McDonald's looking out at the car, and you know, that's Sunday Adelaja, and we had McDonald's that day. And as we were eating it in the car, I knew he didn't like it. I knew if Pastor Bose was around, she wouldn't have liked it. And I knew the kids weren't accustomed to it. The kids were small then, and they had to eat it too. And it kind of hit me that this person who's so busy, who has way bigger things to be thinking about, remembered that I actually kind of like McDonald's and missed it a little bit, and took the time to invest or do that for me. I never forgot that. And that became kind of a standard for me to really pay more attention to people and to do those little things. And sometimes we can think, you know what, this would be exhausting to be doing things for people all the time and remembering what they like, what they don't like. You'll never be able to do everything for all the people all the time. But you can do something for someone, and it makes a difference for that particular person. Some great advice I got from Pastor Sunday years ago was recording in your schedule or even in your phone an alert of do something nice for somebody now or today, or programming when flowers are to be sent to your wife, or really going the extra mile to invest in your relationships. Take time, invest in relationships, and those relationships will give back to you. Well, I think we have definitely exhausted our time tonight, and we didn't even get to tools and strategies to improve self-awareness. We've got more to cover. Maybe tomorrow we do it again.
Guys, Wow, wow, wow. First of all, can you please share this so that other people can watch later? Please share. Secondly, we're coming to a close. Today, I need to digest most of this information. I have learned a lot and I need to practice them. So guys, I know you probably need to do the same. Thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate you and I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. So Pastor Derek, are we going to do this again tomorrow? Should we say part 3?
I think we should. Let's do one more on this subject. How does that
Whee! Yay! Okay, guys, we're doing part 3 tomorrow. So tomorrow evening, it will probably be the same time if there's no challenges or, if we're not busy with other activities. But we try to keep it at the same time so that you guys can come home from work, get into this, and then have enough time to rest before you start your day again. So I appreciate you again for joining us. There's a lot of things that I would like to recap so that you guys will remember. So I don't know if I should do that. Okay, so the 4 EQ skills, emotional intelligence skills, self-awareness, recognizing yourself in the moment and having the ability to make decisions based on what you're aware of. That simply said, recognizing yourself in the moment and having the ability to make decisions based on what you're just aware of. So keep that in mind. If you don't remember this, you can always watch this again. So that's the beauty of Facebook Live. Secondly, self-management, choosing what to do with what you just became aware of. So choosing what to do with what you've just became aware of. So you have a choice here. You're the master of your own world, of your mind. So choosing what to do with what you just became aware of. Simply said, I need to think about that. But it's so simple. I don't do it, but I'm going to start doing that now. So, and also, don't forget the 3 R's. That's resentment, resistance, and revenge. If I should go into this, we'll be here all night, okay? Because I know I have issues with this, and I need to work on it. And that story that was told, can you believe it? CEO, and look at what he hasn't developed because he hasn't taken the time to develop emotional intelligence. Even though he's a CEO, he still has challenges. He still has problems. He spends the whole day having problems with people that are actually planning to honor him. So there you go. You need emotional intelligence. And number 3, social awareness. The ability to read what is happening with the person I am interested in or the person that you're with. So social awareness, being aware of your environment and the people around you or the situation you're in. Another brilliant one. And 4th, but not the least, relationship management. And he mentioned prayer, finance, and relationship. Very, very important. Being able to use the information you know about a person to build a deeper relationship. Wow. Relationship management. Guys, I said that really quickly because I really want you to go back and watch this video and also go back to your notes. So just a quick reminder there. Thank you so much for watching and thank you for sharing. I can see that lots of you have shared. So keep on sharing and I'll see you again tomorrow. Guys, don't forget all the channels that we're on. To like the pages, like this page, and introduce people as well to like it. When they like the page, they get notification. So ask your friends to like the page. Let's work together. Let's put the joint effort. The more people we invite to this page, the more people will learn, and the more sane people will be in society. You will get to interact with people that have knowledge, that have wisdom in your world. So let's do it, guys. Thank you so much again. I know I've said thank you so many times, but I can't thank you enough. So I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you in my vlog, and I'll definitely see you tomorrow evening to continue part 3 of the case for emotional intelligence. So checking out, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Have a lovely evening. Bye. Pastor Derek, do you have anything to say? Goodbye.
Goodbye. Make sure what I would suggest is that you review what you heard again. Read it again, and come ready for tomorrow. We'll see you then. God bless you.
Okay.